Hey everyone, what's up? It's Nevin Kamath, Resist Trump. I am here standing in front of my computer. It's Friday, April 18th, 2025. I'm going to tell you a little bit about the protest that I helped to organize this past Saturday, April 12th, at a site in Austin, which is the location of our first pilot chapter, Resist Austin. As some of you may or may not know, I'm the director of the Resist Trump campaign, but since I live in Austin, I'm helping to get the pilot chapter in Austin started, so I'm working as an organizer in that chapter as well. At this protest that we had at the Tesla store and gallery, the same one where Alex Jones has visited, we've had a number of strange, creepy counter protests visit. If you've seen our Instagram page for Resist Austin, we've had streamers come. We've had bullhorn bullies show up. Lots of different characters that you've seen you see emerge over time at these sites of nonviolent civil resistance. Essentially, basically Trump's enablers coming out and expressing their First Amendment rights in some cases. This was kind of a different situation because we encountered it's almost like you're playing a video game, and like at the beginning you have the minor orcs or whatever, and then as you progress you have more complex opponents and more complex situations that you have to kind of counter and deal with. And this particular situation that we dealt with over the course of the April 12th protest was sophisticated enough to me to want to share how we responded so that other people can learn from it, and also for the broader community to reflect about the sorts of people that come to these protests to counter protest. My recollection is that at this protest event, there were this is being held in 183 in Palm Springs, 183 in McNeil, but really on Palm Springs Road, which is the road that circles and goes in front of the Tesla store and gallery. We've been protesting there for the last 4 weeks, and so as usual, we lined up directly facing the Tesla on the other side of the street. There were I would say about 70 people lined up that way, and then maybe like another 20 people or so, 25 people across the street facing us who are also on our side of the protest. Why would they be facing the opposite direction of the Tesla store? Well, because there's a street that runs between, and there's a light at the end of that street. The street often backs up with traffic when there's a red light, and so there's a lot of like really interesting interaction that happens between protesters and cars, right? Because a lot of cars are like kind of cheering us on, right? Not all of them, but I would say definitely the majority of them. And we're in Austin, so this is probably not surprising. So people honk, they wave their hands, or they shake their fists. Some people tell us that they're willing to do drive-bys, which is a reference to driving by a protest and honking in support. And we can see that actually happening, right? Some drivers even have signs that support us. There's, of course, drivers who don't. At the beginning of this past protest on the 12th, actually one driver slowly drove by with the Sig Heil salute, which was bizarre. At the very beginning, when I was the only one there setting up the site. And other people will throw us the birdie or whatever, or other people will say, "Hey, you guys are losers" or something like that. I mean, that's fine. They have every right to their opinion, and we don't want to have like a monoculture or something like that. We want to have dissent, but we believe the vast majority of Americans and Austinites and Central Texans even are behind us. So the 70 of us or so facing the Tesla store lined up and got ready and started protesting around like 10 o'clock. Right, we get there at 9:30 before the protest officially starts at 10. We set up. Sometimes we have a table. Sometimes we have a sign making station. I've got my bullhorn, got my backpack with my water bottle and maybe some sunscreen, maybe like a little snack. That's pretty much it. Maybe like some clipboards to like walk around and hand out flyers or take people's email addresses. That's basically the entire set of equipment you really need from one organizer's point of view. So we set up, and the other side sets up. One of our volunteers had a bubble making machine, so there's like bubbles going off, and we're just having a good time. It's like a beautiful Saturday morning in Central Texas in mid-April. If you've ever experienced that, it's just like, it's great. It's almost like California. I used to live in California, so I have a soft spot in my heart. Anyway, we're enjoying ourselves or whatever, and a across the street from where the 70 people are, there's another group of counter protesters, and this is kind of where things get a little interesting. Across the street, right, there's a gentleman named Abhiram Gurapathy. Okay, I believe that's the correct way to pronounce his name. He's a Republican candidate for Congress in what I believe is U.S. District or Texas, the federal Representative District 31, and he announced that he was going to host a counter-protest event at Tesla on Facebook. And so we had seen, someone had sent us the Facebook event ahead of time, alerting us to the fact that there would be counter-protesters and that they were being organized by Abhiram Gurapathy. Right? Gurapathy is his last name. That's how you pronounce it. Anyway, so Mr. Gurapathy and his counter-protesters assemble, and there's about, I don't know, 5 to 10 of them or so, right? Some of them have red MAGA hats, others have Trump van signs. They have a fair amount of like pre-manufactured or whatever you call them, like pre-printed Trump vans or like Trump signs. I think they actually have one sign that's like, I think it's of Trump after he was after the attempted assassination when he had his fist in the air. The rest were just like red Trump van signs, and the people there were mostly, in my opinion, like just kind of bearded men with MAGA hats, and then Gurapathy. 5 to 10 of them, maybe about 70 to 90 of us. So anyway, we're enjoying the protest. We're talking to the cars as they come by. Some of us are handing out flyers to the cars. It's just going well. Then another organizer alerts me, then instead of a car coming through, a biker club comes through. And this is a well-known biker club, the WTF Biker Club, which has a chapter in Central Texas. WTF stands for Wind Therapy Freedom. And they roll through and actually stop in front of the 70 or so of us, right, at the light. And they rev their engines for like 2 minutes. I guess because they wanted to demonstrate their capability of revving their engines and send some sort of message. I don't really know what that means in biker culture, but I am curious if you want to share in the comments what that actually means. I just assumed it was like an act of, it was like a demonstrate. It was like a peacock showing their feathers, right, or whatever, showing their plumage. It's sort of like, hey, I'm here, like kind of like beating on my chest or whatever. So as they were doing that, I'm one of the organizers of this protest. So in a sense, like you're sort of like an MC, right? Like you're looked at as like a model. You're looked at as a source of coordination and support. And so, yeah, I just kind of like, I was like, hey, honk for democracy. And none of them smiled at me. They all just kind of gave me stone-faced looks. A lot of them were, some of them had women on the back of their motorcycles who were recording or kind of giving me stern looks or frowns or whatever. So it looked like, it was clear that they were not in favor of our exercise of our First Amendment rights in demonstration against Tesla, which is a pillar of power supporting the Trump administration. So that happened, right? And these guys do have these people do have a reputation of hostile acts towards, at least one known hostile act towards a liberal member of the Austin community. I can tell you that 100%. And so and this was the second time they visited. The first time they visited us was with about 5 bikers. This time they had about 30 bikers. And that's like a pretty substantial show of bikers, noise, and energy. So they zoom off after the green light turns, and then one of the organizers, like about 5 minutes later, was like, hey, they're coming this way, right? And so I want to share with you kind of what happened, because I think it's valuable for all organizers dealing with counter-protesters to kind of sift through and understand these events when counter-protesters disrupt a peaceful protest, right? So they zoomed off, parked in some parking lot across the highway on the other side of the highway, began walking this way, and then I was alerted that they were walking this way. So I had the bullhorn. I was one of the people with the bullhorns. So I began walking the line of that 70, right? And then just kind of stopping every 10 people saying, listen, a potentially hostile group is coming, remain peaceful, remain calm. Walk to the next 10 people, say the same thing. Walk to the next 10 people, say the same thing, right? And so, sorry, 1 second, my computer just stopped. See if it's still recording. Yeah, it's still recording. Okay, cool. So, what next? Yeah, so they're walking this way, and I've announced that to be happening. They stop and pick up their Trump Vance signs at Garapati, Mr. Garapati's little group of people. I guess he was ready for them. And that's when the sort of chaotic situation really began, right? We've got 30 bikers facing 70 peaceful protesters, most of whom are like above the age of 55. And I'm emceeing this event where we all of a sudden have a potentially hostile, unpredictable, and physically capable group of large men who don't like what we're doing, and showed that to us with the revving of their engines, right? So it's almost like, I mean, quite frankly, there's a certain element of, like maneuvering, and I won't say like battle, because this is a nonviolent experience, right? And we want this to be nonviolent, but there is an element of strategic maneuvering. So what I did was, I was like, you know what? Let's see what happens if I sing the Star Spangled Banner on the bullhorn. Let's just see what happens. And so I did that, and as I predicted, many of our protesters sang with me, and so we ended up singing "Oh Say Can You See" by the Dawn's Early Light, like for a good 2 minutes at the beginning of that encounter, right? And then at that point, and they just stood there, I think like somewhat stunned, but still fixed and determined on whatever they were going to do, right? So then that ended, and pretty soon afterwards, when the group of cars, the line of cars, flushed out after a green light came, they just crossed the street. They bifurcated. They walked directly into the middle of our group of 70, like just walked as if we weren't even there, right? Walked directly into the group of 70, these 30 bikers in like leather gear and stuff, and they bifurcated the group, splitting it in half, right? And we didn't know what they were going to do. I mean, no one was like thinking they were going to start something physically violent, but at the same time, it's like, what are they planning to do? And so they walk over and then plant themselves right in the middle of our protest facing Tesla, many of whom are holding Trump Vance signs, right? Some of our protesters, I would say, like, non-violently and non-physically sort of jostled for position with them at the front of our line facing Tesla. As the cars would come by, they sort of jostled for visibility. But it's interesting that this happened because last week, Abhiram Garapati actually posted like an Instagram post accusing one of our members for like invading his space. And here he is, that literally the next week, sponsoring 30 to 35 muscular motorcycle bikers to literally invade our space, right? We don't own this space, but we were occupying the space. And he essentially, I won't say he ordered, but he certainly countenanced and watched and sponsored a group of people to do exactly what he's currently criticizing us for doing in one isolated instance. Anyway, so then what happened? So we've got the bikers on our side, and I've also noticed a little bit about myself as an organizer. I've noticed that like some of my fellow organizers prefer to hang back when there's a potentially hostile situation. Some of them pull out their cameras and they're comfortable doing that. Others try and engage in civil dialogue. Others advocate ignoring the potentially hostile element, right? I've noticed over time, in at least 2 instances, including this one, but maybe some others in general, that when I personally encounter a what I perceive to be a hostile situation, I do not back down. It's kind of weird. I'm not trying to say that I'm a tough person, but I do believe that when there's a bully around, you don't look down, you don't look around, you look them straight in the eye, right? And you show them that you also are tough enough, right? And so what I decided to do after they had done that was to lead a chant to kind of see essentially what the boundaries of the situation were, in a sense. And so I led a chant, hey, hey, ho, ho, these bikers gotta go, right? And I was on one side of the bifurcated group. And so I'm leading this chant, hey, hey, ho, ho, these bikers gotta go. And so I'm at the end of the group, on the end of the line, slowly moving back towards the middle where the bikers are. Because again, I wanted to show them that we are not afraid of what, and we are not ashamed, right? And we are also tough in our own way. We may not have weapons like they did. I saw at least one sidearm on one of them. We may not have, muscles as much as they do, but we have heart, right? And we have rights. So I led that chant, and then as I got a little closer to the group, a group of about 5 of them approached me and stopped about 8 feet away, and they were like, "Why don't you make us?" One of them said that, right? So as soon as that happened, I realized, okay, that was the boundary. They just essentially levied a threat, a physical threat, right, or a physical invitation to conflict, if you would. I knew that was the end of my little game, so I immediately, paused. I just stopped what I was doing, looked down, asked one of my fellow protesters if they had caught that on camera, which I think is important in movement work, to catch invitations to escalate and or actual threats, right? I just kind of paused and kind of just basically turned around and walked away. For the rest of the protest, these 35 bikers, they remained there for 75% of the protest. So it was a protest from 10 a.m. to 12 p.m. They arrived at 10:30 and they remained there, like in this position and or waving Trump van signs. 35 muscular bikers, right, and like a bunch of older protesters and unarmed protesters, hanging out in the same area for about an hour and a half, right? And it's I don't know if you've ever been bullied before, or if you've ever been intimidated, if you've ever been the object of an act of intimidation. It doesn't feel great, right? It did, I think, give us a certain level of mental strength and protection, at least in my case, that I did some of those things early on, so that I felt that we had some boundaries set as to what was going to be acceptable conduct in an informal way. So at some point I was singing a Woody Guthrie song with a colleague of mine, Jim, of Nonviolent Austin. He was singing that song. You maybe heard "All You Fascists Bound to Lose," and I love that song because as soon as the chorus goes, like "Oh, you fascists bound to lose," there's an opening for someone to be like, "You bound to lose," and that's what I did because I just love it. I love that song. So he was like, "Oh, you fascists bound to lose, you bound to lose," and that was like the whole song that we were singing. And I was asking him about civil rights songs because, I mean, I understand that like when civil rights actors were victims of government oppression, they would sing too, and that's what it actually felt. It felt right. It felt good to sing. It felt like a reclamation of our humanity in the face of intimidation. And so I just wanted to share that as well. Eventually, the protest ended and ended peacefully. The bikers remained until actually after we were gone. And actually during that entire period, Mr. Garapati walked over to our side, stood literally above us with a Trump sign for pictures from his supporters across the street. The same person who is currently accusing us on Instagram of invading the space. Trying to think if there's anything else that I want to share. I'm glad that no one was harmed in this particular protest. We would invite these bikers to reconsider counter-protesting and to consider the harm that Elon and Trump are doing to our country. We invite Garapati to stop his counter-protests, but it is his right to do so, and we respect that. We do not respect acts of intimidation or invitations to physical conflict, no matter what the situation. I may not have behaved perfectly, and I do not claim to have done so. But I did want to relay the story to all of you and get your thoughts in the comments. Thank you.